It go time. Well, it's another episode of Machine Room Podcast. Let me click on this to make sure that intro doesn't
Do
pop up
that.
next time. Yes, it's me, Nostradamus, and with me is Hammer Venus, everybody.
Yes, I'm
Congratulations.
here.
You're here. Yep, we're here. We're both here. I almost didn't make it, but I went to my job. I was like, screw you and your problems. I'm leaving.
We don't care about what your problems
It
are.
exactly. It didn't exactly go that way, but it did in my
Good.
head.
You
That's
just drove
for
off in your
sure.
El Camino and screamed and didn't look back.
Yes. All right, this thing is probably like out of sync. All right, that should be better, I guess.
We would hope so.
I think I'm heard, right? I heard myself. There we go.
Yeah. You
Um.
also need to check your mic levels because that was another complaint that we got is that you're too low.
Oh yeah, and the previous, I know that the previous ones, I was. The latest one, I was a little bit higher. I know
Okay,
that.
good.
So I just don't see the bar going on right here. This is uncut, uncensored, unedited.
Raw.
Yes, raw. So any difficulty that we're going through, you're gonna experience it with us. Damn it. As long as I'm being heard, that's all that matters to me. Yeah, I'm being heard, so it's all good. Anyways, El Camino. That's right. I was El Camino to my home,
Yes.
which leads us to what this episode is gonna be about. We're jumping straight in. Trust me, I got stuff to talk about. Like, I had an incident happen to me earlier this week or over the weekend, but let's not talk about that. El Camino. Hammer Venus is a big Breaking Bad fan, correct?
I mean, I'm not going to say it's like, some of those people that are like, oh, it's the best show ever.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not one of those. I'm a Dexter fan. But I've seen everything. I've seen all of, Better Call Saul. I've been on Better Call Saul. So I'm a fan. I'm not like an Uber fan, but yeah, I like it.
My girlfriend Rocio is a big fan. I want to say like, okay, I want to say like hardcore. Like she's not walking around with like Heisenberg T-shirts or any posters or anything like that. I mean, the only thing
Yeah.
I think I got, she has poster wise is something that I actually got for her. It was this drawing of a kind of like a cool little shot of the pizza on the garage.
On the roof, yeah.
On the garage roof, and then you see Walter White down there just pissed off, like like it was a cool drawing. It was funny, and I gave it to her, and she loved it. But other than that, I think nothing crazy. I just say that because she watched the series maybe 3 times, from what I remember. She told me.
I've seen it about 5.
Well, you see, then you guys are big fans. Don't say you're not a big fan if you haven't. Like, I haven't seen anything that many times in my life. Maybe I wouldn't even count Power Rangers in the list because I remember
Oh my God.
I remember Power Rangers when it was on Netflix. I did a whole like I watched everything from the beginning, but I never went back and like, okay, I'm gonna watch Mighty Morphin all over again. So through her, I got caught on to Breaking Bad because I was like, oh, I pushed that off for years because of the way you said it. People were praising it as the greatest show ever. You know,
Ever.
ever, and I'm just like, whatever, it's cool, I guess. I'm not really interested right now. The show ran its course, it finished, and then she was really like, oh, you gotta check it out, you gotta check it out, you gotta check it out. And me to get even closer to her, of course I was gonna check it out. But then I ended up
So
I liking it. I liked it.
You watched it just to try to get some tail.
As I mean, if there's ever a good reason to, that's the perfect reason. But
Oh my god.
I ended up really enjoying it. I have some like issues at a point, but I get why it was such a big deal
Yeah.
when it was released. It's it's definitely a really good story. There's a lot of great characters, a lot
Hmm.
of good drama. The show was so good that they even made a freaking Spanish version. Sorry, a Spanish adaptation that they just condense everything to one season, which I think is freaking fantastic. I wish I could see that kind of version instead. That's
I've
my
said on like you know how there's like the Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is
yeah,
like a very, very short version. It's like the abridged version of Dragon Ball
yes,
Z. It's said that they should do the same thing with Breaking Bad. If you
yes.
cut out all the filler and all the stupid shit, yeah, you could probably do 1 or 2 seasons.
And that's what the Spanish version is called metatasis. I don't know what it means, but it's called metatasis. My mom watched it and she was all like, "This
Of
shit is
course.
crazy," and I'm like, "You have no idea. Like you're getting the condensed cut of it that is pretty much real good." That when I remember when I watched Breaking Bad, it was really, 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 really good when it was all about Gus, you know, that whole Pollo Loco
Hmm.
and Gusting. But then after that was done, to me, it just felt like it dragged. And I just wanted it to come to a conclusion already.
Yeah, and I mean, if you watched it live, there was also how they split the season 5 into 2 seasons. So you only got half of season 5, and then you had to wait a fucking year until you saw the other half, the conclusion. So it was really kind of like mind nerving how they did that. You were just like, just fucking end it already.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did. So that was really annoying.
They pull some Netflix shit on us?
They so did. Where do you think Netflix got it from?
I'll be pissed off if that happened.
Yeah, I was mad. They're like, no, you don't deserve to see all these episodes. We're gonna wait a year and then you can see the rest of them.
I get pissed off at that with just Netflix itself.
Yep.
So imagine like TV wise. I understand they do that mid season break,
Yeah.
but you're saying like a whole nother year? Or just like
Yeah.
you have to wait a couple months later?
No, you had to wait the whole till next season, till next summer. So it
Yeah.
was like a season 6, but it wasn't season 6. It was like 5.2 or some shit. It
Yeah.
was really dumb.
That sucks. I'm glad I didn't go through that.
Yeah, so you missed out like on all that kind of live action drama that they added by doing stupid shit like that. If you waited until after the finale, then you got to watch everything all at once.
I sure binged and had a good time, but like I said, there was that point when it was just like, okay, let's get this over with, because you start like really getting annoyed, especially by like the wife and shit like that. All right.
Oh my God. I did an article for Funny or Die,
Yeah.
and it was my top 5 hated characters that you hated the character so much that it made you hate the actor. And I think she was my number one, was the Skylar from Breaking Bad.
I mean, what else has she done?
She was in that the movie about the pilot that landed in the Hudson. What's his name?
I mean, the one with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, the one with Tom Hanks. She was in that. Otherwise, I don't know because everyone fucking hates her.
I haven't even seen that movie. I don't think I've seen any movie that focuses on like a plane.
That's a good movie.
I mean, I wouldn't say I haven't seen any movie that focuses on a plane, because let's face it, like Airplane 2, those are great.
Oh, Airplane is the god of fuck.
There's Die Hard 2.
Sully. Thank you, Phantom Knight. Yeah, it's
There you
called
go.
Sully.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
She was on
Sully.
Seinfeld. Oh yeah, she was on Seinfeld back in the day, but that was before everybody hated her.
Can I say that I've never been a Seinfeld fan?
That's harsh.
I'm sorry.
That's funny because, like, aren't you the one that everyone always says that you like everything?
It's true, right? But that's a whole nother podcast itself.
Everyone's like, oh, don't bring up Nas because he'll just say that he likes it.
You know what? Next time someone says that, I'm just gonna be like, no, I hate it with a passion.
I hate everything.
I hate everything
I'm a
with a passion.
nihilist. I don't believe in the Seinfeld.
I hate Seinfeld. Wait, but isn't it? Wouldn't it be cool if I said I hate Seinfeld then? Because I hate.
It comes off kind of hipsterish.
Yeah, then that's hip. That's cool, right?
No, hipsters are not cool.
Wow. Then what the fuck is cool? Cause
Being yourself.
but then hipsters will argue that they're being themselves. You
It's
see?
hard. It's hard to track down and kill hipsters because you're like, are you? Are you not? But they look and act and dress like hipsters, so they're usually easy to spot.
It's true. Over here, they are easy to spot as shit. But back to Breaking Bad.
Yeah, heavy spoilers are coming, people. So if you haven't seen the El Camino Breaking Bad movie on Netflix yet, pause this, come back later after you watch it. Otherwise, we're totally going to spoil the shit out of it.
Now, when there was a movie, I didn't exactly know what they were gonna do. I thought they were just gonna milk it. I thought it was like, all right, then you guys are just coming up with something to do, whatever. Especially if you're gonna have like Walter White in it, which is impossible. But it's
Yeah,
possible.
when I heard that, I was like, why?
Right. Now, after watching the movie, I have to say, even though I guess the series had a complete ending, it didn't really feel like it had a complete ending. You know what I'm saying?
There were some open holes. There were some open storylines, and the main one, of course, was everybody wanted to know what happened to Jesse.
Yeah.
And, like, did he leave and just immediately get caught by the cops, or did he fucking escape and go get that kid Brock, which is what a lot of people hoped. So there was some questions there.
Because if I had,
Um,
oh sorry, go ahead.
there wasn't enough things that were lingering that could have been used to been, like, wrapped up. So when they said that they were going to make a movie, I was like, okay, that makes sense. It doesn't sound like something like, when they have like an old TV show, like Seinfeld or Married with Children, where they try to do like renewal or bring it back or something. Like, why? It's over. Just let it die. Breaking Bad was one of those ones that was like, okay, I could see enough material to at least have a movie and then nothing else after that.
It's true. And I mean, people have been demanding it since forever. Oh, excuse me. They've been demanding it since forever, and they've always been saying like, yes, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I guess they had this plan since ages.
Yeah.
I think it's a fitting and needed movie because yes, we did want to know about Jesse Pinkman. And my take on Breaking Bad is that if there's ever a character that was very important and that I felt was kind of like key to the story, it was Jesse Pinkman. I understand that the show's all about Walter White and dealing with cancer and then trying to find a way to go through it, and then just falling deep into this hole of the drug world and shit like that, and
then crime.
Yeah, and crime and being like just like loving the power and then being selfish for it and then playing people. But that's the thing, that he was playing people, and especially Jesse Pinkman, who was just a kid who was doing some bad things, but then he dragged them along and did even worse things. And then this kid, all he wanted to do was get the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
He definitely just wanted to get out of it, and he was more pure than Walter was, and you felt bad for this kid, especially towards the end. Especially when you watch this movie, you feel really bad for him.
Yeah, and he was definitely like the true victim of everything, and especially in that last season which is the precursor for El Camino, and you see that because he was going to rat to the DEA and all that stuff. The group of Nazi guys kidnapped him and then made him cook meth for, we don't really know how long, a year. They made it sound like. They beat him, they abused him, they kept him in a cage. So, I mean, he really got the shit end of the stick while Walter White got filthy fucking rich.
Yeah, definitely. I the one thing I did catch upon. Okay, so we're pointing this out that El Camino takes place after the final season
Right.
of Breaking Bad, and it's the story of Jesse Pinkman. I mean, he escaped his captivity after Walter freedom in a El Camino. Thus,
The car.
That's where the title comes in, and we see what happened to his character. We all know that Walter White, spoiler alert, dies at the end because of cancer. He wanted to do like.
Well, he didn't die from the cancer. He died from the gunshot.
Did he?
Yeah.
He was already gonna die from cancer, wasn't he?
I mean, that was coming. The cancer came back, and because he was such a wanted person, he wasn't going to be like at a cancer facility getting treatment. I mean, he was taking chemo by himself, or the disappear guy would do his chemo for him. But I mean, it's not really implied like how long he had to live. I mean, they just said that his cancer had come back and he was in treatment. But what got him at the end was obviously the gunshot wound from his own gun that he made to fight back at the Nazis.
Well, there you go. You see, you saw it multiple times. I saw it once.
Right.
So, I don't remember anything. So clearly I'm not the one who's supposed to be telling this whole like fucking Breaking Bad story. I'm just remembering off of like first viewing. But he's dead.
He's dead.
Jesse's not. And it just left us open to what happened to Jesse. But now we see what happened to Jesse, which kind of wraps up all connections and everything.
You know what was cool about living in New Mexico when all this happened? Is that in the Albuquerque newspaper, there was even an obituary for Walter White that I still have. It's like has a picture and everything of him.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's in storage right now.
Kind of like how they made that newspaper for Back to the Future, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and rest in peace, Robert Forster. He was great.
Dude, we watched it the day that he died. So
oh, my God.
We were watching El Camino. I'm like, hey, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's this guy. It's the guy who makes you disappear. Then we had to stop because we had to go and set up. It was that Friday, I remember. Because the following day, we were going to a small convention once again to sell her brother's artwork. But this time he was actually going to join us. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, so it was more exciting because it's like, okay, the artist is actually going to be here with us so he can actually interact with the people and blah, blah, blah. Which
right.
went very well. Actually having him there, having him there was better than not having him there, of course.
Right.
So we watched the Camino and then we paused because I was like, look, we should really work on this stuff, get it ready. Let's not wait until the morning or doing it over there. Let's get it now. So while we're setting up how our area is going to be and getting the whole display going down and everything, I go through the phone and I look and I see it. And it says, Robert Forster dies. And I'm just like, yo, we were just watching this. I just saw him. And I brought it to her attention. It's like, dude, we just watched, like, literally this probably is his last work. I'm not sure if it's not or not, if it is or not. But it was just trippy because I was like, I just watched this guy and now he's dead.
I watched it, I think the day after. So it was really weird to see him, so close to the end like that.
Yeah.
Because I do think it was the last thing he did. Let me look. Just to make sure so we don't sound stupid.
I think we passed that point already.
Actually, there's one thing on IMDb that he did after El Camino, or around the same time. It's called Amazing Stories. It's a TV series, and it's still being filmed.
Well,
So
that'll be it.
I wonder if he got to finish his stuff, his scenes.
That guy was great.
Yeah, he was awesome. But again, for those of you that have just come in, we are talking about the El Camino Breaking Bad movie, so there will be spoilers. So if you want to wait and come back, listen to this later, either on YouTube or Spotify, Google, or Apple, I suggest doing that now because we're about to jump in and really tear it apart.
That's right. So, since you're the Breaking Bad expert,
I guess I'm more of a Sons of Anarchy expert in Dexter, so but I have a minor in Breaking Bad.
so
If you want to talk Sons of Anarchy, I'll fuck you up.
oh shit, I'm sure you will. And that you could take over like crazy because I haven't even dabbled in that.
That's my shit.
I don't know nothing about that. But if you want to talk like the Flash, then I got you covered there.
There we go.
I probably still forget stuff because I watch it and then that's it. I'm not gonna go back and rewatch shit.
If it's good, I will. That's what makes a good show, is if you can go back and rewatch it.
That's true. Maybe like way down the road, then I can do it.
But I mean, so we were talking about the Walter White dies, of course. So let's just jump off from there because the movie really ties in from right at that scene. So there's a scene where you see Jesse getting El Camino drive away and he's screaming because he's so happy. He finally got away. He's free. And that's where the movie picks up. So he's driving down the road from the Nazi little camp or whatever, and the cops are coming at him in the same direction. So he pulls off and into like somebody's yard, like into their driveway, and turns the lights off and ducks down. So he's able to evade the police there, and then he gets away. So basically from there, it's him trying to get the fuck out of town. He's wanted. He's all over the news. He leaves there and goes to Badger and Skinny Pete's house, and they, hide the car. They give him a change of clothes, and you really get to see how fucked up he is. It's the first time since everything happens to him that he's had just a minute. And you can really tell that he has PTSD from everything that happened to him.
I just want to state that if there was anyone that should have had a spin-off of Breaking Bad, it should have been Badger and Skinny Pete.
Badger and Skinny Pete, they need their own TV series.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know why they wasted time with Better Call Saul. It should have been those two guys. I would have watched it.
They're fucking hilarious.
They were the stars to me. Every time they came on, every time there was an episode about them, they were the guys. But continue.
That I don't know if you remember the episode, but there's the episode of Breaking Bad of when Badger and Skinny Pete are at Jesse's house and they're telling the story about Badger's Star Trek script where they're eating the blueberry pie contest. Mm-hmm. Somebody made an animated version of that, and it's on YouTube, and it's fucking hilarious because it's all acted out as he's telling it.
Yeah.
If they would have done like a Badger and Skinny Pete cartoon series like that, it would have been gold.
just milk these two guys, man. They're the best. Hilarious. It's like the new Jay Silent Bob.
Totally. Like, and they're better because Jay got some kind of dentures or something, and now it's like all bottom tooth. He looks weird.
Yeah. I love those guys.
It's not the same.
It is kind of weird. Watching the new reboot movie is gonna be kind of weird.
I think I'll pass. I think I'm finally past that age of Kevin Smith dick and fart jokes. I think I can move on, but anyway.
I'll never grow up. Continue.
So, Badger and Skinny Pete really help out Jesse. They give him money. They know that he's wanted. They've been watching the whole thing on the news the whole time, and so they're letting him know what's going on. And they kind of come up with a plan to get him out of town. So Skinny Pete gives him the keys to Badger's car, right? Yeah. So Jesse takes Badger's car. Badger takes Skinny Pete's car and drives it to the border to make it look like Jesse fled to Mexico. And then
But
Jesse gives the keys to the El Camino to Skinny Pete because initially he didn't do anything wrong. But what started that was he was going to have the guy from the dump where they had the RV destroyed. He comes over and he comes to the tow truck and he's going to hide and, probably destroy the El Camino. And then the load jack goes off. So he's doing like a sweep for wires on the El Camino, and then the fucking thing goes off that it's being detected. So that's what really got them to get Jesse out of town in a different car, because the load jack went off, and then the guy from the city dump didn't want anything to do with the car. So Skinny Pete took it. I was like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. I'll just say that you came here, you took my car, and then you left.
I think Danny ID is saying Old Joe. What's his name?
Old Joe. Yeah, I think that's right. And it was cool because he was like, oh, what do I owe you? And he was like, oh, don't worry about it. This is a freebie. And then the load jack goes off and he's like, I'm the fuck out of here.
You're on your own, dudes.
He got the fuck out of there because he's like, cops are coming. And by the time Jesse left in Badger's car, there was like SWAT team and just like rows of fucking cop cars. So I really, you got to give it up to Badger and Skinny Pete to take a bullet like that.
Yeah, just think GTA 5 All Stars level,
All Stars.
Like that's what happened.
They fucking rolled in hard. 6 stars. It was like GTA 4 when you go to like a part of New York that you're not supposed to be at yet and you haven't unlocked it, and it's just all fucking stars, and they're flat. It was fucking crazy.
I wanted to point out that he told dude to take it to the border and then hitchhike your ass way back.
Yeah, hitch your ass back.
And he was, what did he say? It was like a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, man. I'm guessing it's that time period, so there wasn't no Uber or shit.
Not at the border. Have you ever been there?
I don't know. Have you? Do you know if there's a Uber?
I live 2 hours from the fucking Mexican border. It's just all desert.
So there's
unless you go to fucking, if you go to El Paso, you could probably take an Uber from there.
Imagine you cross the border and you just get an Uber. All right. I found that funny. Hitchhike your ass back. Yeah, that is mad love. Those guys were like, yo, you're my hero. That's what he told them.
Exactly. But no, those guys are great. And I love the part where they're giving them money to get out of town. They're giving them like hundreds. They're not giving them like $20. They were giving them like hundreds. And he goes, Skinny Pete goes to Badger. He's like, kick in, bitch. I think that was my favorite part of the whole thing. Let's see.
What are you looking up?
I'm like multitasking.
Oh.
So
from that, Jesse goes over to Homeboy's crib, doesn't he? There's a lot of flashbacks in between this, in between the story, because that's when we get to see what Jesse Pinkman actually went through during his captivity. And
there's other flashbacks too. I mean, there's a lot. Like, there's one that they show where, you know how like near the end of Breaking Bad, like Jesse just knew that Walt had killed Mike. And then we see in a flashback it was because he was just there before Walter White got there. So if Mike wasn't in contact with him after that, he was like, he probably killed him because he was on the way. So there was a lot of flashbacks like that. There was one of him and Walter after the episode of when they get stuck out in the middle of nowhere and the RV won't start and they have to do that whole battery thing to get it to start up. There's a whole scene of them after that. So there's just a lot of little flashbacks like that.
For you real hardcore Breaking Bad fans
Yes.
like Hammer Venus here, who caught all those. For me, it was just like, oh look, I remember that time period, or it fit in
No, I
through this time.
remembered the day, the episode. I remember all that shit.
Jeez, that's dope.
That this I've only seen once. I'm trying to remember where did he go from there.
I think that's when he went over to the dude's place to find money. Ah, no, yes, he went over to that guy who was holding him a cactus that was just crazy. That I found funny because it's been years since the show in this movie, and some people just changed since then. So
That's true. It's been over 10 years since Breaking Bad ended, so you really get to see how people age. And it's supposed to be like right after Breaking Bad,
yeah,
and they're a decade older. And you can tell, like, there's a flashback with Jane, and her voice is deep as shit. I was like, she's like a grown woman now.
Todd, that's the character. Todd, the guy who's like watching him and just
Oh, he was
freaking.
fat as hell.
Man, he was. I was like, yo. So then I thought that the shots were purposely from far or blocking him or whatever. Like he
They
was
were, because he was
just.
all neck.
He was, and I was like, "What? They're trying to hide." And then Rosie was like, "Yeah, they're trying to hide that double chin."
He was on that show for what was the first Coen Brothers movie? It's like Up North. It's a TV show now.
No.
Anyway, I'll think
Oh,
of it
Fargo.
later. Fargo. So he's on the Fargo show, and I've seen him on there, and he was fat as hell. And I said when they said they were going to bring him back for El Camino, I was like, well, he's going to have to lose some weight to
No,
be
he didn't.
where he was in Breaking Bad. And no, he skipped leg day. He skipped all days.
I was like, you can't. You could tell the time difference right there. That's for sure.
Yeah. Um. So yeah. So he went from there to that dude's house.
I believe so.
It's weird because you have to like they'll show something happen and then they'll go to a flashback. So you really it's hard to, it's like a Tarantino movie. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, they do this whole flashback scene of one day when he was in captivity with that Todd kid. Todd basically had a weekend with them. With the other Nazi guys were like out of town, so he was like, "It's just us, and we can, I just need your help with something." And he lets him out of the cage, and he's like letting him out, and he says, "Remember, if you do something, I will have to go kill that little boy." So he gives him the ultimatum and basically takes him to a car, makes him duck down so nobody can see him, takes him to his house, like this really kind of nice apartment in Albuquerque, and helps him dispose of his cleaning lady's body because she found his money stash and he strangled her to death with a belt. So they show this whole huge thing of that scene and then helping him put a camper on the El Camino to hide the body, and then they go out in the desert, bury the body. Jesse finds a gun and is acting like he's going to use it on Todd, and Todd's just like, "Give me the gun. I was going to be nice to you. I was going to get a pizza and beer and all this stuff." And he's just like, "What kind of pizza do you want?" And he keeps asking him basically until Jesse gives him the gun. So then we go back to what's supposed to be the present. It's more like 10 years ago.
10 years,
And he's
10 years present.
10 years present. And he's going to Todd's house. He remembers where it was and where that stash was. And it's been raided from the cops. There's crime tape and all that stuff over it. Because, the whole Nazi guys have been investigated and have been searched and all that. And so he basically tears the apartment apart trying to find the money because he had moved it before he died. That about right.
Yeah, that's about right.
I'm trying to remember. I ran out of air too.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
spends a lot of time going back and forth, and there's the that old man that's all nosy.
Oh, the nosy neighbor.
Yeah. Uh there was something that caught his attention though, wasn't there? Like he looked at the TV for some reason. Oh, because he saw someone else watching TV from across.
That's right. And it was his parents were on TV. Jesse's parents were on TV.
Bingo.
Um, on the news, they were saying, like, if you could say anything to your son, what were you saying? They were like, turn yourself in.
I would have been like, run!
Get the fuck out.
Which is a key, which is important because they're key players into what happens next after this. But let's go back to the moment at hand, because he's looking for this money, which is the reason for it. He searched high and low. He remembered about the books are not there, so he's like, Todd told him, I'm gonna have to find a new place. Do you know any new place? And he was like, you know what, I got a new place. I know where I'm gonna put it. But exactly, he never told Jesse. So now he's searching high and low. He's tearing that place even more apart and breaking down walls. He's trying to find anything that's like hollow or anything that sounds like it'll be like a location. And then he's just given up. But then something triggered. I forgot what it was. Triggered him to check the fridge.
He had given up and he was sitting on the ground with his back to the refrigerator. And he was giving up. He'd hit his head on the refrigerator like, ugh. And then he heard something fall. But you remember, he had already checked the refrigerator, and I guess the cops had already been there because the refrigerator was like basically empty. So he's like, well, that had to come from somewhere. And he starts tearing the door apart to the refrigerator, and that's where the stash of money was.
Yes. But he didn't get to finish, though, because then these guys come in who are cops, and Jesse had to hide and not get spotted by them. But this is what I don't get. Like, I understand, like, he probably had nowhere else to go. But, man, he really didn't go far and hide very well. But these guys come in, they're cops, and they meet with the old man, trying to tell him, you know, that they discuss with him, blah, blah, whatever, and then they send him his merry way. They start searching the place even more, and then one of the cops bumps into Jesse, who holds a gun to him and tells him, you know, don't do anything crazy, whatever. I don't want to shoot a cop, but I'll shoot a cop. Call your buddy.
Your partner.
Yeah, your partner, and tell him everything's all right, blah, blah. But what the cop does, he goes like, Lieutenant, come over here. And that was already key to the other guy. It's like, oh, something's going on, you know. I guess, you know, don't call me. He never calls me Lieutenant. But what we find out when the other guy comes over, confronts Jesse holding the cop, quote unquote, hostage and whatnot, and then he pretty much given an ultimatum. He realized he can't do anything. He can't shoot these guys. It's pretty much the end of the road. He gives himself up, but then they reveal themselves. They're not cops, and they are there for the same reason that Jesse is to find the money stashed, left behind by Todd. So lo and behold, both of these guys are in the same situation, but as that old man comes around, bothers them again, one of them has to go keep that guy busy, and while they're keeping busy, Jesse, oh smooth guy that he is, makes works his magic and gets it so that guy he tells him, I know where the money's at, and I'll tell you, but you can't do this or whatever that, because he pretty much puts him in a predicament. Like, if you shoot me, that'll bring the attention to you, and blah blah blah, right, and you won't get the money, blah. But if I help you find the money, then you can have the money. I just want my cut or whatever, and I'll be on my merry way. I'll leave you alone, blah blah blah. So the guy agrees with him, and that's what they do. He gets the money out of the refrigerator, shares the cut, and then they go their merry way. But the thing is that at the end, when they get to their vehicles, Jesse looks at Homeboy's vehicle and realize that it's a steel company, right?
Right. But before that, Jesse wanted half, and the money about money about there was about $1 million in the door, and the guy's like, "Oh, okay, that's great. There's about $1 million." And Jesse's like, "Well, I want half." And the guy's like, "No." He's like, "Yeah, I'm taking half." And the guy puts a gun to his head, and he's like, "You can fucking shoot me, and that old man will come over here, and you won't get anything,
Mm-hmm.
or you can let me take my half and leave." And he's like, "Fine." So he's giving him half, and then he ends up taking about a third of it, and the guy stops him. He's like, "That's enough. That's all you get." He's like, "Okay." So he was like, it'll be an even three-way split. So yeah, so then when he's leaving, he notices the guy and his like a welding company,
Steel, same shit, whatever.
steel
Welding.
whatever. Yeah,
I ain't gotta be so freaking like you get the point. Danny gets the point. It's a welding company. I'm sorry. I don't know. Like I didn't know I was supposed to take notes while I was watching this. I was
you
just
have
enjoying.
to.
I was just enjoying a very like the reason I like the movie is not just because of it's a Breaking Bad and it's a story, but the reason that Breaking Bad period is so good is because it's done so well. As a guy who's like a filmmaker, I see
Right,
things aesthetically, the pacing, the shots, the acting.
right.
It's done very, very well. El Camino, like on its own, standalone, which pretty much can't be seen as a standalone because you got to know something about it.
Yeah,
But as a standalone, it is shot beautifully, you know, and the scene setups and the pacing and the over the edge of your seat moments is just the drama, the acting, the drama is it's very well done. That's why I love it as a filmmaker from an aesthetic standpoint. Very well done.
very pretty.
Yes, very pretty. They're beautiful shots, man. They're very beautiful shots.
Yeah, I just had to jump in there because that really ties into something that happens later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he notices this guy, and then the guy goes, I was wondering when you were going to notice me or remember me. And so it kind of leaves open for what happens later.
Which is my favorite moment.
So as the movie's very like Tarantino-esque and goes back and forth, it goes back and shows the flashback of him being the tether that he was in the meth lab. That guy that basically he that gave him let him have a third of the money. He was the welder that made that where Jesse was stuck to, and the guy was like, "Oh, it'll never break." So they're having Jesse run back and forth to see if it'll break
On a bet, might add.
on a bet. Yes,
Yes, they were just having fun with him at that point.
they were being dicks.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Uh, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I had nothing to put in there. I was just thinking about the scene, and yeah, they were being dicks. And you just once again you just see the hell that Jesse has been put through, man, and he has no choice but to do it because the people that he loved were in danger.
Yeah, and they basically broke him down to just nothing. I mean, he couldn't say or do anything.
Mm.
And there's a scene when he was back at Skinny Pete's house where he's in the shower and he has to turn the shower off because he remembers the time when they were spraying him with like a fireman hose. Jim,
Mm-hmm.
those things hurt. I mean, so this guy's like totally fucking just broken.
Once again, it's just to what I said that this is just one character that just at first was all gun ho for the lifestyle and the money and all that, but then
He was like this happy-go-lucky kid, and he just got broken down into just this bitter fucking angry adult that just had his whole life shit on him.
mm-hmm, just one after another. Even though he tried to get out, he got manipulated by Walter White and got thrown back in and got in the middle. He mostly got in the middle of all the situation just because of Walter White, and then even after dude's death, he's still in the middle of some bullshit that he had to get himself out. But what I see is that at the end of this, or throughout all this, that you see how matured he has been. You know, like
Yeah.
the Jesse before previous seasons wouldn't have survived so well through this, as well as the Jesse now that's been through so much and had to deal with so much shit.
So he had some money. He has basically like a trash bag full of money. And he goes to, when he was at Skinny Pete and uh, Badger's house, he had looked up something in the phone book and ripped out a page. You didn't get to see what it was, but you find out later after he has the money, he's looking at vacuum stores. So he's trying to find the disappear guy. He knew that he had a vacuum store. He didn't know which one it was. And he finds it by the van that the disappear guy has. So that's how he found which vacuum store was his.
I have a question though. Did 10 years ago we not have Google?
We did, but he's on the run. He didn't have a fucking smartphone.
Oh, right. He only had burner phones.
Yeah, they had given him a burner phone, but it wasn't like a smartphone. So yeah, so he finds the disappear guy, and he doesn't remember the password. So he's trying to convince him, like, I know who you are. You came before. I didn't get in your car. I'm sorry. Help me, kind of a thing. And the guy's playing hardball. The guy that was played by Robert Forster.
R.I.P. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Blah, blah, blah. Get out of my face.
Get out of my store.
Like, I know you. That's the van. And I'm, blah, blah. And I didn't do it that time. But I needed this time. He was like, then he finally just gave in. He was like, all right, well, you owe me.
Yeah. He goes, this is what you owe me from last time. He had given him the amount that it was like $125,000 or $150,000 to be disappeared. And so he had taken out of the bag and goes, this is what you owe me from last time. You didn't get in the car. A deal's a deal. So you owe me another $150,000. He's like, okay. And he's like $8,000 short. So then he uses the money that Skinny Pete and Badger had given him, and he's like $1,800 short. And the guy's like, can't help you. Deal's a deal. Sorry.
And then Jesse is, of course, frustrated. And the dude's like, I'm going to call the cops, blah, blah. And then he goes and he makes a phone call. And he puts the phone down, hangs up, and he's like, oh, they're going to come on their way, so you better leave. And then Jesse's all like, you know what? No, you didn't call them, because if you called them, then this, and that. And then you will say this, because this. So Jesse's like, they're like, I got you, motherfucker. You didn't do that. You think you slick, but I know, blah, blah. But while he's talking all this shit, that's when the cops pull up, which, by the way, Danny ID there says in the chat that gotta love that response time.
God, that was my favorite line in the whole movie. He turns around and he's like, I love that response time.
So that's when Jesse's like, oh shit, and he really does freaking bounce out of there. But when
I love when he runs off and the guy's like, don't forget your money. So he's got to run back, grab the money, and then run away.
But the character, the laundry guy, no, the vacuum guy. Sorry, the vacuum guy did he did direct the cops to the opposite direction though, so that was nice.
Yeah, he did help him out.
Yeah, he was just doing his stuff for his own reasons and whatnot. But when Jesse was outside in his car, he called him up and he told him that he agreed that okay, I'll get you your 1,800 to get me out. Because that was his last resort. I mean, that's his only freaking choice. The best way to get out of there.
Yeah, basically, he didn't know where to go. He didn't have anybody helping him. He wasn't connected to that world anymore. Mm-hmm. All he knew what to do was to go to find that guy, and he would have put him somewhere. So that was basically his main function. It's like, Okay, he escaped. He got the money. He went to the guy to try to get. Now he needs to get the rest of the money. So instead of going back to like Skinny Pete in Badger's house, he goes to his parents' house. But before he does that, he calls them and says, "Can you come get me?" And he gives like a faraway place, like a lake somewhere. Which, if you've ever been to Albuquerque, there's no fucking water. It's the middle of the desert.
So
It's dry as fuck.
he sends them to another state. What's going on?
He sent him on a goose chase. So he basically knew that the house is going to be watched by the cops. So he had his parents leave so that the cops would follow them, and then the house would be open. So he breaks into their house. Not breaks in. He found the key, and goes to their safe, and there's no money. He's like, fuck, but there's 2 guns. There's like a 22 and then like a 6-shooter revolver. Look like maybe like a 38 or something. And
Guns.
so now he has 2 guns. He doesn't have the money, but now he's going to go to the welding guy's place and get the rest of the money.
Now, do you think that was his objective, to get money, or was it to get those guns?
I think it was to get money because his parents were loaded. I think because there's like this sign of like, fuck. If he went there obviously just to get the money, then he would have gotten the 1,800, given it to the guy, and he would have been gone. You don't want extra steps when you're trying to get the fuck out of Dodge. So that's why he really looked disappointed and mad when he found the guns and no money. He's like, fuck. So then he's kind of like left his own devices and got the idea, well, I'll just go back to the guy and be like, well, my third wasn't enough. I need more money. All I need is $1,800. So the guy's having like this I'm rich party now, and he's got like hookers, and they're doing cocaine. And they're all
$750 an hour.
big time hoes.
That's how much they pay for that shit. Even my rich ass would be like, yo, what? No. That's $750 an hour. Fuck that. How many chicks were there? I'm pretty sure
3
it's per.
No, or 4.
I think there was like maybe 4 or 5.
I think it was 4 because they were all sitting in the back seat.
$750.
I think it was 4. But yeah, they were being really negligent with their money.
They should have never gave that.
So Jesse just walks in, and after he waits for the strippers to leave. So the guys are still there. They're doing like coke and stuff.
As as a party goes.
Of course, that's what you do.
Yes.
And everybody just stops, and they see Jesse standing in the door, and he's like, I come in peace. I don't want any issues. All I need, my share wasn't enough. I need $1,800 to get out of town. That's all I need. If you could help me out, you'll never see me again. And for a second, you think the guy's going to do it. You're like, really? Like, and he goes and shuts the door, and he's like, well, you came in here with like a 22. Like, what did you think you were going to do? And he's like, well, it's not for this. I don't come here to hurt anybody. And he's like, well, let's have a shootout for it. And he's like, my share is over on the file cabinet over there. If you win, you can have all of it. And he's like a shootout, like the Wild West. And he's like, yeah, my 45 against your 22. And they have a legit shootout.
Mm-hmm. Wah, wah, wah. That's why I asked the question, like, did he go to the parents' house for the money or because he knew they had guns? Because this was too well planned out. I mean, it didn't go like extremely well, but it went well planned out.
I mean, I don't think that was his natural intention to go to his parents' house. I think it was to get the money. Because if you watch that scene when he finds the guns, it's not like, oh, I found the guns, I'm here for what I came for. It's like, fuck. The thing that I'm here for is not here, but here's this other shit. So now I've got to do something else.
And then he just came up with that because it was pretty smart. Now, he had the one gun on his waist that was seen
The
by everybody.
22.
Yeah, the 22 on his waist. That was seen by everybody, so that's why he called him out on that. Like, oh, you just got that? Well, then I'll take
The
you on with
little
this.
the little bitch gun.
Yeah. The whole time Jesse's hands in the pocket of his jacket. So when they have this Wild West shootout right here, well, it's not even a shootout. It's standoff. Right?
Standoff gun.
Yeah, they're about to draw their weapon on the count of 3 or whatever.
And I love how everybody else, all the other guys in the room, they weren't like rooting them on. Like they were legit like hiding behind shit. Like, come on, man.
Because they didn't. I mean, they had nothing to do with it. It was just those 2 guys. The other guys were just not I want to say innocent, but they were just there chilling. So the gun in the waist was a distraction to make them feel like they had the upper hand, when in reality Jesse had the other gun,
The revolver.
yes, in his pocket. And while they're there waiting and shit, and he's about to draw or whatever, he just goes ahead and shoots through the jacket. And then that guy's down. Then his partner, who was already eyeing the another gun on a holster by him on the coat rack, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes for that gun. So now there comes a shootout, and they're just shooting like crazy. Which, by the way, these guys are
fucking shooting.
These guys are the worst marksmen
Aim.
like ever. They're just blah 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 blah. Like I swear, I thought Jesse got shot, but he didn't. Like, or did he? No, he didn't. No. Right? He didn't get shot. Like he was facing a stormtrooper. Like that motherfucker had
pew, 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 pew.
bad aim. It was a big ass shootout. No one was hitting anybody, but at the end, Jesse got homeboy
In the fucking head.
Deserved.
Boom. Headshots.
Well
it was amazing. I love when, and then the other 2 guys, he's like, you guys can go. And one guy turns around and goes, dude, you're on fire.
Yeah.
So where he had the gun pointing out of his jacket and was shooting the revolver, it had caught on fire. So he's just been walking around on fire. It's fucking great.
And that's why that moment I say is my favorite moment, the whole thing, because 1, I love Westerns. So that became like a Western moment, it's like the whole scene played out like a Western, and that was a saloon,
For sure.
And Jesse walks into the saloon, everybody stops, looks at him, they have this conversation, everybody's cool about it, and everybody's being like mature and gentleman, and they're fucking, sizing each other's cocks. And then finally there's this mano-a-mano shootout. Hero has the upper hand, and then it's just fucking just all out battle at the OK Corral kind of shit.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And it played out so well, so perfectly done, that to what it kind of played out to what the genre, I wouldn't say like the whole thing was a genre, but if you think about it, the movie's called El Camino, and then it kind of played out like a Western kind of genre. You know what I'm saying? Like this whole dude on the run and blah blah, and the way it's shot, pace back and forth, the whole thing of redemption, and then you have this beautifully shot, well done little shootout that it kind of mimics how a Western is done, and that whole location is, kind of like the saloon kind of thing. It's just what I saw from it and why I liked it a lot.
Absolutely. Like even all the way up to the end, it feels like that. It feels like a Western.
Right? Like he goes off into the sunset kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like he won.
Mm-hmm.
So it's totally like a modern Western.
I love that.
Especially with the pacing and the music and the cinematography and everything. If you did all of that same shit and put it on a set that was a Western set, you'd have a great fucking movie.
I'm talking about, let's take this and let's just digitally make it a Western. Just put a cowboy hat on Jesse Pinkman the whole way through,
Yeah.
A poncho, shit like that.
That's the rapper.
Or let's just deep fake one of the old, Clint Eastwood movies and put Jesse's face in Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, that would be easier. It's the same storyline.
No, you just made fun of my horse. My horse is kind of sensitive. I don't know if you guys ever seen A Fistful of Dollars, but it's one of my favorites. And
It's been a long time.
he literally goes up to these other guys just because they like taunted his horse and they shot at him. His horse got scared, so he came up to us like, "You guys scared of my horse. Oh, he's kind of sensitive." And they're all like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah." And then he just shoots them all down in one shot each.
Beautiful.
Yes, spaghetti westerns.
So, yes, I love westerns.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so now he's got two shares of the money at least. They don't say if he got the other guy's money, but basically it goes from.
I mean, he had to have taken it. Killed
I don't. Well,
everybody.
they didn't ever show it. All they showed was that one bag of money.
Yeah.
So the plastic bag of money that was all going to go to the disappear guy, the vacuum store guy, plus $1,800. So Jesse has a whole other bag full of money. So it
Rich.
basically jumps from there to in like a old U-Haul van
Ugh.
being driven into Alaska.
I'm gonna let you know that U-Haul doesn't do commercials because they use TV and movies as their advertisement. That's straight up what I heard from them. So that's why I was like, hey, why don't you guys have commercials? I always see commercials of all these other fucking movie companies. They're like, oh no, we use movies and TVs.
It's true. I mean, you never see like a Hertz truck in a movie. Mm-mm. Or like